Hi there. This is Billie with the Modern Divorce Podcast. And today I am so pleased to have with us Christine Godinez with AHA Counseling. And today's subject is going to be, I think, one of the best ones. And we're going to talk about personality disorders. So Christine, thank you so much for joining me.
You're so welcome. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we dive into personality disorders, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Okay, so I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been doing this since 2006, went into private practice in 2009. And once I got into private practice, I started working with domestic violence targets and realized that there was not enough education on personality disorders because all abusers have got a personality disorder of some sort. And so I started educating myself on that. And now I teach other people what they are. I work with lawyers, I work with judges, et cetera. So.
Awesome. Awesome. It seems like personality disorders are more and more common. Is that true?
So I think they've always been around, but remember, our society's got a huge stigma about mental health. And so we never talked about it. How recently has it been? It's only been in the last maybe 30, maybe 40 years that we even really started acknowledging domestic violence.
Right.
So we never really talked about it. I think it's always been around, but I just don't think it's ever been really as talked about as it is now.
Mm-hmm. Because it really does seem like almost everybody I talk to knows somebody that they think has a personality disorder.
Right.
So before we dive into that, what?
Especially as a divorce attorney.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start with what is a personality disorder?
Okay, so a personality disorder is not like it's not like depression or anxiety. It can be treated with meds. This is a series of behaviors that are maladaptive, that are harmful, hurtful, etc. There are three different types of personality disorders. You got your type A, your type B, and your type C. So the cluster A, cluster B, cluster C. Your personality disordered people that you will find in divorce cases are all going to be in the cluster B. So the cluster A is schizotypal, schizoaffective. So those are offshoots of schizophrenia. They have the behaviors of schizophrenia, but they're not completely schizophrenic.
Okay.
The cluster Bs are going to be your narcissists, which is usually what you will find in the high conflict divorce cases.
Mm-hmm.
You will find borderline personality disorder. Now, again, everything's on a spectrum. So you can have traits of, strong traits of, and then full blown.
Okay.
It only takes 5 of the 9 criteria to be full blown. So when you're diagnosing it, if you're going down the checklist going, oh, sense of entitlement, oh, using other people to get their own gains, oh, and you're like clicking things off and they meet 5 or more, then you're dealing with a narcissist. Anyway, so there's narcissism, borderline, histrionic. So that's like a drama queen, drama king. Everything's very, very, very dramatic.
I had no idea that was a personality disorder.
That is a personality disorder. So those are the ones that go for the high drama all the time. Like everything's got to be like a grand Shakespearean kind of thing. There's never just calmly getting your coffee. It's like, no, verily, I say unto you, I am getting my coffee. They're just like over the top.
Okay, and what's the name for that?
That's histrionic personality disorder.
Okay, histrionic. Okay.
But here's the thing, borderline personality disorder, when it becomes malignant. Now, malignant meaning that they have slid into the full blown and they enjoy the drama. They enjoy hurting people. Those are the dangerous ones. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So like I said, everything's on a spectrum and there's different subtypes. So it gets really confusing if you're not a professional in this area. So narcissism has got overt, which is like the over the top, look at me, I'm so fabulous, tell me how fabulous I am. That's overt. Covert are the ones who are the constant victims. Mm-hmm. Never right, you never cool, you never, I'm doing all this for you, you never do anything for me. And it's always about them somehow. Those are the ones that usually ruin, by the way, Thanksgivings and Christmases.
Mm.
Since we're sliding into that time of year. Yeah, so those are the covert ones because they play the victim all the time. It's always about them. Then you've got the communal narcissists that are the cult leaders. So those are like the Jim Joneses, the David Koresh's, those type of people that are like, I am the savior, come to me, I will save you, I am the way and the light, that kind of thing. Yeah. Oh, and then with borderline, you've got the quiet borderlines. Now, the quiet borderlines are on the lower end of the spectrum. I will work with them all day long because they harm themselves. They are the ones who usually have intense emotions, intense feelings, and they are the ones that cut. Those are the cutters,
Okay.
because they don't know how to handle emotions.
Mhm.
Emotional dysregulation is the hallmark of borderline personality disorder.
Okay.
So the lower end of the spectrum is cutters, which is the quiet. Then you move into the hermits, which kind of correlates with the covert narcissism. So they're victims. They do the whole victim thing too.
Mhm.
Then
Mhm.
you move up the row to probably full blown, and then you've got the queen, which is the control freak. Machiavellian, has to control everything.
Mhm.
And then you get to the worst one, which correlates with the dark triad of the narcissist, which is the witch. And the witch is a sadist. She enjoys inflicting pain. She or he, I don't mean to say she because it can be he's too. He or she enjoys inflicting pain. They're control freaks. They're evil. They're just freaking evil because they like the pain and suffering that they inflict. And in a divorce case, it's usually the witches that will keep the divorce case going and going and going and file motion after motion after motion after motion, because they would rather have a screwed up dysfunctional connection to somebody than no connection at all.
Mhm.
And a dark triad in a narcissist it's narcissism, psychopath, otherwise antisocial personality disorder now, and Machiavellianism, control freak. These are the ones that end up being stalkers. These are the ones that cannot let go, will not let go, end up getting orders of protections against them, and then will fight the order of protection, even though they've blatantly done everything that the opposing person has said.
Mhm.
Yeah. Does that answer the question? Did I go a little too in depth on that?
Wow, I have so many follow-up questions. I just want to know more. So one question I've got is, what is the difference between bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder?
Okay, so bipolar is a brain chemistry issue. So what happens is in the brain, there's senders and receivers, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, all the feel-good chemicals. So what happens in bipolar disorder is that the brain is unable to regulate the proper amount of the feel-good chemicals. So in a healthy brain, we have a great meal or we have great sex, and the brain just goes, okay, this feels great. And it releases all the endorphins, dopamine, serotonins. But then the receivers will suck it back up after a certain amount of time, and that kind of euphoria goes away and you're back to quote unquote normal. What happens in a bipolar brain though is that the senders go boop, 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 and pump all of the feel-good chemicals in. The receivers are not sucking it back up. So the brain is bathed in all of these amazing feel-good chemicals. That's when you go into the manic.
Sure.
Because you've got all of the feel-good chemicals. You feel like you're invincible. You feel fantastic. It's like a runner's high on steroids is the best way I can describe it. Or other people have described it as being on meth, which never done meth, couldn't tell you. So, but that kind of euphoric, I'm invincible, I'm amazing, etc. But then what happens is all of a sudden the receivers will suck up all of the feel-good chemicals, like all of them. It will take all of the norepinephrines, all the serotonin, all the dopamine, and then boom, you hit that depression. And then you can't get out of bed, you don't feel like eating, you don't feel like dressing, and oops, somebody's at the door. Sorry.
No problem.
You don't feel like doing anything. So that's the bipolar. And then
So,
with that, you can get psychotic thinking. So because of the lack of proper chemicals, people will do things like, I'm going to go to LA and I'm going to become the next big singer, even though they can't sing, they can't carry a tune in a bucket, or they'll go to Vegas and they'll blow literally $70,000 on their bank gambling, thinking that they're going to hit the next jackpot. I mean, I've seen them do that as well. And the danger for bipolar is that they don't commit suicide when they're depressed. they commit suicide when they're up in their manic phase because they have the energy to do so.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why if you know somebody who's got borderline and it's not treated, for the love of God, get them into treatment. They have to get on mood stabilizers, have to. Because what the mood stabilizers do is instead of up, down, up, down, up, down, which is what they're doing. And here's the other thing. If you allow your brain to continue to do the up, down, up, down, up, down, it actually causes brain damage. These senders and receivers start getting damaged because they're not functioning properly. So what the mood stabilizer does is it takes it from to kind of like that. I mean, you're still going to have variations in mood, but it's not going to be the ridiculous up and the ridiculous down. And it keeps the brain centers and receivers from harming themselves. So.
Okay, so when you say that borderline is emotional dysregulation, is that unrelated to the chemicals?
Yes. So borderline personality disorder is generally based in trauma. So if you look at somebody who has borderline personality disorder, and if you can catch them early enough when they're at like maybe the quiet type that harms themselves, or the hermit type, which does the whole poor me, poor me, poor me thing, you can work with them if you address the trauma that they've been through. So the borderline behaviors are a fear of abandonment. That is their core thing. They are terrified of being abandoned. They do bizarre behavior in order not to be abandoned. So they're the ones who often do the suicidal ideation or the suicidal gestures. You know, I'll kill myself if you leave me. I'll harm myself if you walk out on me, you know, that kind of thing. So you can help them if they're at the lower end of the spectrum. But like I said, once they go full blown, they like it. They enjoy it. They're enjoying, because for them, it's a power thing. Because they were powerless when they were little, when they got traumatized. And once they've slid into that malignant kind of part, now they feel powerful because they create so much trauma and chaos in other people's lives. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. So let's focus on narcissism, because I feel like we could talk about each of these for an hour each.
Yes, we could.
But let's talk about narcissism and tell me, what are these 9 traits?
Okay, so unfortunately, I do not have my DSM-5 in front of me. So hold on one second. Let's see if I can pull it up on my phone. Wasn't prepared for that. Hello.
I apologize, hijacking you like that.
Mayo Clinic. Narcissism, hang on. And you can look these up. This is the thing I love to teach people. You don't have to have the DSM-5. DSM-5 stands for Diagnostic Manual 5. And every 10 years or so, they update it. They add diagnoses and they take them out and you know, things like that. So, okay, let's look at the traits. Okay. Exaggerated sense of self-importance. They literally think that the world, the sun rises and sets on their ass. They really do, like in a weird way. They have a sense of entitlement and require constant admiration. Oh, you're great. You're great. Tell me how great I am. Tell me how great I am. They're constantly needing to be told how great they are. They expect to be recognized as superior without any achievements that warrant that. So they will have absolutely no education whatsoever and start talking about something they have no knowledge of, which just shut up. You know what I'm saying?
Right. The know-it-all.
The know-it-all. Yeah, absolutely. And they're the expert on literally everything. They will never say, oh, I don't know. So if somebody asks me a question, like if you ask me a question, I really don't know the answer and I don't have a way to get you the answer, I will say, you know what? I don't know. Let me go look that up and I'll get back to you.
Right.
Narcissists will never do that. Okay. They will also never apologize. Apologies are not in their realm of existence because that's taking personal responsibility. They will not take personal responsibility. What they'll do is a narcissistic apology, which is either, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, you, pointing the finger back out at the other person, or they'll apologize, but then do the same behavior over and over again. Okay, so hold on. So now we're on the 4th one. Exaggerating achievements and talents. Oh, well, I got this, huge thing from this university, and they never either went to that university or they never got the award that they were talking about, that type of thing. They're preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. So these are the ones that insist on the supermodels or the spouse has to have the 6-pack, or do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Granted, I would love my spouse to have a six pack. That is simply not going to happen because we like lasagna, you know? Yeah.
But
Right.
image is very important to them.
Huge. And it has to be perfect. They are perfectionists. And here's the funny thing. They can make mistakes. Don't you ever point it out to them, but they can make mistakes. But if anybody around them makes a mistake, they are in trouble like nobody's business. They will just rub their nose in it. You made a mistake. You did this. You. It's the you guns is what I call it. So there's one finger pointing out, but there's three fingers pointing back at the person. So really they're talking about themselves.
Oh my.
Okay. Believes they are superior and can only associate with equally special people. So they want to hang out with the in crowd. They want to hang out with the pretty people. They want to hang out with politicians. They want to hang out with, do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Okay, they monopolize conversations and they belittle or look down on people that they perceive as inferior. So if somebody does not look like a supermodel, if somebody does not have the power base or the, whatever, they'll shun them. They'll be cruel to them because they're inferior. How dare they not be perfect? They expect special favors and unquestioning compliance with their expectations. If you do not ask how high when they say jump, you will never hear the end of it. They will punish you for it. They will make you wrong. They will, they're terrible. They will take advantage of others to get what they want. They have an inability or an unwillingness to recognize the needs and wants and feelings of others. So somebody could be sad in front of them and they won't care because it's not about them. Like if it's about them, they'll join in on it. So emotions are not okay to a narcissist. The only emotions that are okay are the narcissist emotions. And here's the clue. They literally do not feel happiness. They're missing that empathy. So you and I, if we're like, if we're out on a walk and we see a dog limping down the canal, we're going to pick the dog up and take it to the vet and probably adopt it. You know what I'm saying? We would have empathy. Whereas a narcissist would be like, that doesn't concern me. I'm done. They have no empathy. They cannot feel. They do not feel. That's why they say the most horrible things. They do the most horrible things. And then they can't understand why their spouse is sitting there sobbing in front of them. So there's that. Be envious. They are incredibly envious of others. And they think that other people, oh, you have a puppy dog. They think that other people are envious of them. So they're always like, they're like, everybody wants what I have. I'm the greatest thing. People are jealous of me, blah, blah, just BS. What they're doing is they're stroking their own ego. They behave in arrogant or haughty manners, and they come across as conceited, boastful, or pretentious. They insist on having the best of the best of the best of the best. They will bankrupt the family in order to buy the Lexus, the Jaguar, the Rolls Royce, the newest, the best. They will buy these huge mansions and then go underwater because it's all about image for them.
Right.
So it looks pretty on the outside, but it's freaking rotten to the core.
Right.
So yeah, that's the traits of the narcissist.
Okay. So those do narcissists tend to be abusers?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. They are the worst offenders. Those are the dark triads that I talked about.
Okay.
But even if they're not a dark triad, they are so arrogant. Like I said, they'll bankrupt the family. They'll use the kids' college fund to go buy a motorcycle or a new leather jacket or whatever. And they jeez Louise, they're terrified of death. So when you're an older narcissist, it's called a collapsed narcissist. So when narcissists are young, they can get narcissistic supply, somebody to stroke their ego, somebody to make them feel good. When they get older, people are done with them. They're done with their BS. They're done with their abuse. They're done with their manipulation. They're done with their everything. So they're called collapsed narcissists, which means they're desperate for somebody to stroke their ego. So these are the ones who are like 70, 80 years old. They look in the mirror, they see themselves as 17, not 70 or 80. They will go dye their hair. They will be working out at the newest gym that all the young kids are going to. Do you see where I'm going? They will dress inappropriate to their age and or body type. The rest of us, when we get old, I'm 55. I know I'm not 17. My hip tells me on a daily basis. But it's like, I'm not going to be out there wearing skimpy stuff because I don't have the body type for that. Please see the statement about lasagna earlier. But, it's like you dress appropriately. They don't. They dress way too young. They're trying to show off their body. They think that they're in this great shape. They're not. They're terrified of death, and they will do anything they can to avoid it. So yeah, they deny it.
One of the things that I'm thinking about is for people going through divorce, many of them are experiencing many of the things you're talking about. Crazy highs and lows, people who maybe in the past didn't experience those things. At that point, are we experiencing a personality disorder or what's happening?
So what you got to understand is the way that abusers work when they're personality disordered. They start off with the love bombing phase. So in the love bombing phase, did you watch Frozen? Did you see Frozen?
Of course.
Okay, good. Just checking. So you remember Princess Anna, and Hans, who comes in and everybody thinks, oh, he's the hero. So what he was doing was love bombing Anna. So he walked in, he's like, oh, you like pizza? I like pizza. You like to ice skate? I like to ice skate. You like moose? I like moose. You know, so it was like that he was mirroring everything that Anna liked. And so Anna was like, I found Prince charming. He's just like me. And he has the same core values and he has the same so a narcissist or a borderline will walk in and say that they are exactly like you, that they have the same core values, the same everything. But then once they get their hooks into their target of abuse, their mask slips and the real them starts coming out. And that leaves the target of abuse absolutely devastated. Because here was this person that was literally wonderful, you know, prince or princess charming, either way, because women can be abusers too, make no mistake. So they come in and they mirror the person and it looks like they're, you know, the perfect match. And oh my gosh, this is my soulmate and everything's great. Then the mask slips and then they start what's called the devalue and discard phase. So what they do is they start devaluing you. So everything that you thought that they loved about you, they will suddenly start criticizing. So let's say at first they were like, oh, I love your hair and your hair's so beautiful and this, that, and the other thing. Next thing you know, God, you know, you've got too much hair. You need to cut it. Oh, your hair is just so scraggly. You need to do this to it. You need to dye it. Why are you always doing your hair like that? Da, da, da. And that's just an example. You know, but they'll start attacking all of the core values that they said they stood for, and they'll start making fun of you for it. So one of the key things I've heard them do is they will sit there and they will tell their target of abuse, well, everybody lies. Everybody lies. You need to lie too, because everybody lies. So narcissists and abusers in general do one of two things. They either turn their target of abuse into a mini version of them, and then they're happy because they're just as miserable as this person is. Does that make sense? So this person is now lying, cheating, stealing, everything that the abuser does, because in that way they've got something over them if they ever leave. It's going to be used against them. It is.
Wow.
Or what they do is they do the devalue discard, which is criticize, criticize, criticize. And pretty soon this person starts wilting and loses who they are. They no longer remember who they are. I have people sit on my couch and I will go, what's your favorite food? And they'll look at me and their eyes get really big and they're like, I don't know. Because their personality, who they are, their core values have been so eroded and so taken down by the abuser, and the abuser has told them what they like, seriously, and there's no dissension. So here's how you know it's a personality disorder. Healthy, normal people can disagree. Not everybody's going to agree. We're not, you know, some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla, and that's okay. But if a narcissist likes chocolate and the target of abuse does not like chocolate also, well, why? No, you need to like chocolate. You need to think exactly the way I do. You need to, and that's why that person starts losing who they are and can't remember what food they like because they have to like everything the abuser does. Did I answer the question? I kind of went off on that one.
Well, my question was, I see a lot of people who I would consider very normal who have just exited a marriage or been left. Mostly it's the people who leave, who are experiencing a ton of volatility in emotions. They are
The target of abuse is?
the person who leaves. So
Okay, so usually, so here's the thing. In abuse, if the abuser leaves, they're fine with it. They don't care. They really, because they're on to their next target. They're looking for their new supply. These are the ones that go hunting for the new sugar daddy or the new sugar mama or whatever. If the abuser gets left, they're all over the place. They're pissed, they're sad, they're this, they're that, but they're pissed and sad and everything for themselves, not for the kids, They could give two rats' asses for the kids. They will use the children as pawns, and they will use the kids against the opposing person. So if somebody is having all sorts of emotions, it could be that they're abusive, or it could be that they're going through the whole shock of the discard, because it literally will come out of left field. It's like you'll think everything's fine until they start doing the devalue discard, and then you're trying to get back to the love bombing phase. So this is called trauma bonding. This is Stockholm Syndrome. This is exactly what happened in Stockholm.
Wow.
So in Stockholm Syndrome, there was a bank in Sweden. It was taken over by bank robbers. It only took 1 week. So they held hostages for 1 week. At the end of the week, when the police were finally able to get in there and rescue them, the hostages surrounded the hostage takers and said, no, they're our friends. You can't hurt them. That's trauma bonding, because what the hostage takers did is hold a gun to their head. I'm going to kill you. I'm not going to kill you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm going to kill you. No, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just kidding. They did that for an entire week, day on, day out. And they wouldn't allow them to sleep. So this, again, I hate to say this, but if you read any books by any POW, this is exactly what happens to POWs. They sleep deprive them because it makes them more malleable. They threaten to kill them because it trauma bonds you to your captor. These are all psychological tortures, basically.
Wow.
So when the abuser does leave, it leaves the target of abuse absolutely decimated. They don't know who they are. They thought they loved this person. This is not the person they married. This is not the person they got involved with. This person that they used to love has been damning them, putting them down, smear campaign like nobody's business. As soon as the divorce starts, the abuser will go to every single family member, every single friend, occasionally to the employers, and try to smear the target of abuse. So whoever's doing the smearing, that's your abuser.
I like that. I like that. There's a quick hack, because you know what usually happens is many times both spouses are accusing the other of being a narcissist.
Right.
Or because
it's the new buzzword now.
Right.
Here's the deal, and this is what you got to tell your clients. Unless you've got your licensed professional counseling license, or you're a psychiatrist, or you're a psychologist, do not diagnose your spouse. It's going to make you look stupid in court, number one. Because I mean, I've seen judges do this. They'll be like, I'm sorry, do you have a degree? Where do you get this diagnosis from? And that's why you always want to go, let's stick with the behaviors. You want to talk about the behaviors. The person isolated me, wouldn't let me talk to my family and friends. The person put me down constantly, verbal abuse. The person turned the kids against me, parental alienation. You know, it used to be the parental alienation, they said that women was doing it to men, but I see, you know, men doing it to women too. I mean, it's like I keep saying, nobody has the corner market on abuse. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So you want to stick with the behaviors. So I strongly recommend that, you know, you stick with the behaviors. You talk about the behaviors. You don't diagnose. The only time that there's going to be a diagnosis is if you ask for a psych eval for the whole family when there's custody involved, you know, and you let the professional diagnose it.
So what can someone do if they are going through a divorce and they're divorcing a narcissist, and the narcissist is relentless? How can they protect themselves both emotionally and financially, and from the enormous legal bills that can happen?
Okay, so here's the deal. Usually by the time it comes to a court case to divorce, the damage has already been done, because narcissists like to play the end game, and they have to win at all costs. And I do mean at all costs. They don't care what it does to the kid. They don't care what it does to the ex. They don't care what it does to them financially. They just need to win. They don't. They will spend their last dime putting your kids through college to win, which, you know, is great for the attorneys, but it's not good for anybody else.
Yeah.
So when I'm helping somebody leave an abuser, the biggest mistake that people make is that they have been trained through trauma bonding to tell the abuser everything. You have got to shut the bleep up. Seriously, stop oversharing. So, for example, you work with somebody and they're ready to go. They've got the attorney. They're just about out the door. They've saved up their money. Then the abuser will do something. like a love bombing kind of thing. They'll come back and they'll love bomb. Oh, baby, don't leave me. I love you. Because they'll say, I'm divorcing you, which never do that. Never. If you're leaving an abuser, the best thing you have on your side is surprise. So you freaking leave while they're at work. You get the hell out. You get all your personal papers together, your birth certificate, your passport, your, whatever you need for you and the kids. You have a separate bank account and you just have them served out of the blue. That's the best way to do it. Because if you tell them, I'm going to divorce you, these guys, I'd like to do little sock puppets. These guys will come back and be like, oh, baby, I love you. It'll be different this time. Oh, no, this time I'm going to go to couples counseling. Here's a newsflash, guys. Never, ever on this or any other planet Earth, go to couples counseling with an abuser. Why? Because it's dangerous. These guys will take whatever you've said, in all honesty, in couples counseling, and they will twist it. And they'll make it about you. You're the problem. You did this. How dare you? Da, da, da. They'll punish you. And it's dangerous because then you really lose your sense of self. There's no safety because this person is not honoring what you said in couples counseling. Big surprise. But do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
So as soon as somebody, I've had couples come and sit on my couch and they didn't disclose that there was abuse going on. And as soon as we get into the session, oh yeah, he hits me. He does that. Okay, we're done. We're done. I'm not seeing you as a couple. I'll see you each individually, but I will not see you as a couple because I'm not playing that game, people. And here's the deal. Narcissists will never stay with counseling if there's a good enough counselor that can see that they are a narcissist. Because as soon as the counselor goes, and what is your part in this, Mr. or Mrs. Narcissist? They go, screw you, you're incompetent, you don't know what you're doing, blah, 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 and they storm out. So, I'm sorry, did I answer the question? I could have went off on a tangent again.
You did. This has been fantastic. So what I heard you say was the best thing you can do if you're leaving a narcissist is do not tell him or her.
Yes.
Plan.
Yes.
And just do it. Now the divorce process can take a long time.
Here's the things, guys. I worked with a woman who left her abuser 12 years later. He was still dragging her back into court because they had a baby together. So for 18 years, this jackass is going to drag this woman back into court every year or every 2 years or however long the judge will let him. And this is the problem, is that our judicial system does not have training in abuse. And what they don't understand is that narcissists and borderlines will use the judicial system to continue to abuse the target of abuse. And if the judge is disordered themselves, which let's face it, there's a lot of narcissists sitting on the bench. Okay? There's a lot of narcissists that are attorneys. You and I have both seen them and we're just like, oh, hell no. So, it's right. There's no training in this. And so when the narcissist starts doing its thing and you've got a narcissistic judge, they recognize themselves and the narcissist and they will join in mobbing abuse. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
okay.
Basically, what is financially, if you think you're going to leave a narcissist, you have to save up as much money as you can. Go to the food bank to get your groceries. If they have you on this is one thing they do. They place their spouse on a quote unquote allowance and they don't allow them access to the family money. Now, the spouse may be working and all that her money or his money is going into the family account, but they won't allow them access to it.
Oh
so they'll limit their access. So you've got to save up as much money as you possibly can, get a damn good attorney that understands high conflict divorce, because it's going to be high conflict divorce. If there are children involved, this is going to be hugely expensive. Why? You're going to have to hire psychology, a psychological eval. You're going to have to hire a psychiatrist or a psychologist to do a psychological eval on the entire family so that the judge gets a good picture of what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's expensive. Those are like $3,000 or $4,000 right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Then the attorney's fees, which can be anywhere from a retainer of $5,000 to $10,000. And you're going to have this narcissist that has all the money, that might have mommy and daddy paying for it. I've seen that happen too. And they're going to keep dragging it out as long as they can. They want to hurt you. They want to financially bankrupt you. They want to morally bankrupt you. They want to kill your soul. Basically, here's the deal. They want you dead. They want you dead. They do. So what I've seen them do is they get the person to the point where they commit suicide. I've seen targets of abuse do that. And the narcissist will sit there and go, ha, 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 look what I made them do. Can you say crazy?
Wow.
That's crazy. Or while they're in the relationship with the narcissist, let's say the spouse has got diabetes, right? The narcissist will start shoving alcohol and candy and this and that, carbs, trying to kill them. I don't know about you, but if my spouse came home and said, hey, I've got diabetes, I'd be like, hey, we're getting a nutritionist.
Less lasagna.
No more lasagna. You know?
Right.
So, yeah.
Is there anything that works to influence a narcissist?
Mm-mm. They think they know better than everybody. They will, oh, here's the beautiful thing. You'll love this one. They usually represent themselves in court. Yeah. Which that's every attorney's dream, because it's just like, I cannot wait to rake you over the coals, you know?
Yeah.
But they're so arrogant, they'll represent themselves in court, and they'll think that, especially if you're dealing with a malignant borderline, court to them is grand theater.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they think that is their place to push how horrible the spouse is and how it's all the spouse's fault. And they use the court as grand theater, not understanding the judges don't effing care. Just get off their damn docket. That's all they care about. Really.
Well, right. And what happens most of the time is, even with someone who's a narcissist or severely messed up psychologically, even then judges are still ordering equal parenting time if there isn't physical abuse.
Yes, and
And so-
here's the reason why. Okay, so in order, at least in Arizona, I don't know about other states, but at least in Arizona, unless there is physical abuse or neglect going on, DCS will not remove the child. So the abuser could be sitting there verbally just eviscerating the child, and they won't care, they won't do anything. Again, how much education is there in the legal system, in the state system, on abuse? There's not. There's not.
There's not.
So judges are very loath to give less than 50-50 because you have to prove that there's physical abuse or neglect going on. But what they don't understand is that verbal abuse is worse, almost, I think worse than physical abuse, because the bruises will heal, right? And you can be like, okay, that person was really screwed up, that they were hitting me and this, that, and the other thing. But when you have a parent that is literally beating the crap out of their kid, and while they're beating them, I love you, this isn't really happening. They say that. This isn't really happening. You're remembering this wrong. I'm not hitting you. They do that.
Wow.
Can you say how screwed up that kid's going to be? Because they're going to equate love with pain. If it hurts, it ain't love.
Well, when we have that, when we have physical abuse, when we have addiction, when we have drug addicts, then we can usually get kids away.
Yes.
But when we have people who are just psychological tormentors,
torture, yeah,
that can be really hard on the ex-spouse and the children, because there's no distance.
Right. And the kids are having to go, what is it, 2552 or 5225?
Yeah, they either split the week up or they go week on, week off.
And so when they're with the abuser, oh God, you know what? We could do this for another 2 or 3 hours, I swear to God. When they're with the abuser will pump the kids for information. Well, what's your mom or dad doing? Who are they seeing? How I see they got a new car. I guess I don't need to give you guys child support, blah, 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 blah. They'll send the kids, oh, this is what pisses me off. I love kids. I love children. Never had any of my own, but damn it, I love children. And what these fuckers will do is they will take the kids. The mom or dad has bought them new clothes, new shoes, the whole thing. They'll take the new clothes, not allow them to wear them back to the other person's house. The one that I was telling you about, the 12 years going in and out of court, the dad was sending the kid to school in clothes that were so small, it hurt to button it because the child had grown so much. But he refused to send any of the new clothes back over to the mom, even though the mom bought them. Jeez. I mean, to me, it's just like, you are harming your own child to soothe your ego. I would love to see them bitch slapped. I really would. Because it's like, I'm sorry, you're using a child to further your own ego agenda. And that to me is just evil. But yeah, they do things like that. And the court won't do anything.
No.
The court will not do anything.
No, they won't. I mean, that's a great example because there are those little injuries that happen again and again and again. And the only thing that parents can really do is figure out how to live with it and equip their children with tools to manage it. That's really the only thing they can do.
Yep, play therapy is great, but here's the problem. You get a narcissist, they don't want their kids in therapy. You know why? Because the kids are going to tell the truth. The kids are going to call out the dad or the mom for being abusers and all of the screwed up things that they're doing. And the abuser does not want that to come to light. Abuse survives in the dark. That's why they hate therapy. And they'll keep the kid from going. So here's what they'll do. Let's say that the judge says, yes, the kids need therapy. We're putting this, or the lawyer does, we're putting this in the divorce decree. What the abuser will do is they will go find a therapist, quote unquote, not licensed, which, by the way, if anybody tries to get your kids to go to therapy with somebody that's not licensed, don't do it. Refuse. So they'll find somebody who is either a pastoral counselor, which means they're usually not licensed, or they'll find somebody who's fresh out of school and doesn't know their hind end from a hole in the ground. And the abuser will manipulate them, manipulate. So you've got to be very careful who you allow to do therapy with your children. They have to be licensed, number one. They have to be trauma informed, number two. Their modality should be CBT or DBT. DBT works with personality disorders. CBT is talk therapy. It is one of the few modalities that is effective with all mental health issues. So, because you're dealing with cognitive, you're dealing with mistaken thoughts, mistaken beliefs. So if somebody's got a great deal of anxiety, which kids usually do, dealing with an abuser, you start working on, okay, well, what was the thought? What were you thinking right before you had your panic attack? Okay, well, how can we change that? How can you protect yourself? That kind of thing. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think I think we're going to have to schedule another time for you to come on because I want to talk about cognitive behavior therapy and dialectical behavior therapy and how it can help both parents and kids. But we don't have any more time today. I want to know, how can people find you if they need a therapist?
Okay, I am on Psychology Today. So you're just going to go to Psychology Today and look up AHA Counseling or Kris Godinez. I also have a weekly talk show that is on this very topic. So that's on YouTube. It's called, it's called We Need to Talk with Kris Godinez. So it's every Sunday at noon, and I deal with all of the different things that happen with personality disorders. So on Sunday, which is tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about how to stay safe in the holidays. How to deal with it if you've got family members that are just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. What are you going to do? So, yeah.
Wonderful. And I will have all of your contact information in the show notes. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me.